What's going on, everyone? So, Scream 7 is said to have a time jump. Now, we don't know exactly how much that time jump is going to be. Is it going to be years? Is it going to be 2 years? It's going to be several years. Now, based on the rumors, it's supposed to be a significant enough time jump to where Sidney's kids are a bit older. Now, I don't think you need to have like this huge time jump, right? I don't think you need to be like 5 years into the future or anything like that. But I do think, like, if you're, say, 2 years from where it's at, because you'd have essentially two and some change in between Scream 6 and Scream 7. Then you say you add another year or two, you're basically 3-4 years from when you saw Sidney, actually longer because it'd be Scream 5. So I think, a year or two ahead, I think you'd have enough distance to where now even that, that baby or child in the stroller is, 7 or 8 or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see. Plus, we don't know how old exactly Sidney's other children are, right? All Sidney said was that she needed to get the girls to school, right? That could mean anything. One girl could be in high school, one girl could be in middle school, one girl could be in elementary school, one girl could be in middle school. They both could be in middle school, right? I've seen a lot of people throw out like, oh, it's probably twins. But again, if you're a parent that has daughters, more than one daughter, then a lot of times you just generalize like, oh, my girls, right? You're not like, oh, well, my one. No, and especially speaking to Dewey, he would know how many kids and the age and all that stuff. So he would obviously be in the loop as the conversation presented itself, as like Sidney was just like, oh yeah, the girls, signaling that Dewey knew exactly what he was talking about or she was talking about. But the big question is, my opinion is, yes, the Sidney stuff is great, all of that, but what about Gale Weathers? Right? So the last thing we saw of Gale, she just got brutally butchered. And we know through dialogue that she survived and that she was going to make it out okay. And Courtney Cox is expected to sign on. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, Nev's back. You'd imagine Courtney, who's been in every Scream, she's the only one that's been in every Scream movie, would want to return as well. What if she is living with Sidney or even just in the same like city area, right? So here's my thoughts. Now, I know some people can say, well, there's supposed to be a nanny, right? Which, again, like Gale Weathers, she's probably not going to want to be Sidney's babysitter, right? So even if she was, let's say that they were living in the same house, she's probably not going to be wanting to watch Sidney's kids 24 hours whenever Sidney's away or gone or whatever, right? But maybe, what if she was? Maybe that's why she's hiring a babysitter, right? Because maybe Gale was watching the kids and she took a job, right? She got bored. We saw in Scream 4 how Gale was kind of like, she was trying to be that stay-at-home wife and it just didn't work out for her. She was frustrated. She was getting writer's block, right? As soon as Ghostface showed up, she was like, I'm on the case. Let's do it. So what if she was kind of like recouping, right? Sidney, it would make some sense, right? She nearly died. She doesn't have Dewey. She doesn't really have any loved ones or anything like that. She's in New York, essentially all by herself. She doesn't know if Ghostface is coming back or whatnot, right? She might have heard that, hey, there were 3 killers, but she might be like, hey, what if there's more out there, right? Who knows? And even if there's not, that doesn't mean that some other psycho isn't going to show up at some point. So let me go somewhere where I'm safe, go somewhere where I'm comfortable, right? So it would make sense that Gale might hit up Sidney and be like, hey, I need to recover. I need to recoup. Right? If a ghost face shows up and tries to butcher me, I can't fight back. I need some help. Right? So it would make sense that Gale would move in with Sidney, the only person she really trusts, and she could kind of like, hey, while you're working, while you're doing everything, I'll help watch the kids. I can help you in that regard, right? Because why, okay, just like you can make an argument, well, why would Sidney need a nanny, right? Well, why would Sidney now, just randomly at this time, need a nanny? Is the real question. Well, if Gale was originally the nanny and watching the kids, and now, Sidney is still having to work and everything, and Gale wants to get back out there, get back on the saddle, okay, well, it makes sense that she's like, hey, I can't watch the kids anymore because I need to go work. I need to go do this. I need to, like, I'm just stewing here and it's driving me crazy, right? So now she could kind of like, okay, I'm going to go, okay, fine. I'll hire a nanny. I'll still be around. I'll still stick around. And you kind of have, Gale kind of trying to get back out there a little bit, right? Trying to get back in her life, trying to get back into the swing of things, maybe write a new book, whatever. Maybe she's already written a new book. Maybe her and Sidney have helped each other out because Sidney worked the book, right? So I think it would be an easy, interesting way kind of have them tie together, because then the other question is like, okay, how do you get one or the other to the other? Right now, I mean, the easy answer is, of course, they just call like, hey, but if Gale was to be attacked, we saw her not want to call Sidney. And she was like, now things could have changed because she might not have anyone else. And I'm sure they're going to explain away the core four some way, right? So maybe it's possible that, Gale does get attacked early on and she hits up Sidney and is like, hey, I need your help. And maybe she goes and meets up Sid. And, you got to imagine Sidney's going to have all kind of safety nets and she probably has a safe house or something like that somewhere. So it would make sense that she'd be like, hey, let's do that. Now, the other way would be, Sidney's attacked and she needs help. And she's like, who do I go to? Who do I trust? And it's like, okay, well, let me call Gale. And then she could maybe go to Gale. But I just think it would make so much sense and it would be just so easy to have Gale be with Sidney because she almost died. She needed to recover, right? And as brutally as she got tore up, like, she's going to need probably a little bit of time to recover. She's probably not recovering in a month or two, right? So it's probably minimum 6 months to a year that she's going to have to recover, right? So you got to imagine that, hey, like, what do I do? Do I just sit here by myself and run the risk of a Ghostface showing up and finishing me off? Or do I at least have somebody that can help me and is, knows how to hide and knows how to do whatever, right? Man, I mean, also maybe Gale is in a safe house, right? Maybe Sidney has her shacked up somewhere. So that way it's like, you're safe. Also, I don't want you living with me because, what if Ghostface tracks you down or follows you or whatever, but to me, it would fit Sidney Prescott and her character to be like, of course, right? Like, you're always welcome here. You're here, and I also think that would be fun because you could add a new dynamic to their relationship, to the story, right? They've always kind of been frenemies, right? They've always been, they've had their ups and downs and their roller coaster. And I just think that it would, especially if they're living together, it could give you a real opportunity to kind of have this building of that chemistry and that relationship, right? Maybe they're still kind of butting heads a little bit, maybe taking little slight jabs at each other, right? Almost like sisters bickering, right? Like, I think you could do some real fun stuff in that regard and really kind of just expand on Gale and Sidney together, but also individually as characters and kind of see some of the struggles, and Sidney's helping out and Mark's helping out, and, and you could even have some dynamic and some story between Gale and Mark. And I think you could do a lot of really fun and interesting stuff. If you were to have them living together, I don't think it would be far-fetched at all. I don't think it would take much explanation other than, you don't even have to say anything, in my opinion. Right? You could see Gale just recover, like, hey, how you doing recovering? Right, boom, there you go. Like, we all know, okay, she moved in with her so that way she could recover. It wouldn't take some big rocket scientist to kind of figure that out and navigate it. I think it'd be pretty straightforward. And again, it makes sense for Gale because, no, she doesn't have Dewey to protect her anymore, right? She doesn't have really anybody to protect her, period. Right? Like the guy, the big buff guy that she had that, she thought could protect her, ended up getting taken out in seconds, right? Like he was no help, no benefit. So it's like where else could you go? What else could you do if you're Gale? And Sidney, to me, would make the best answer, right? And then again, you could kind of explore some of Gale's struggles, right? Like, you could maybe play out some frustration. Maybe it starts with Gale and she's not looking for work and she's just like antsy and like, like, man, I'm driving myself crazy. Kind of like in Scream 4, right? You saw the progression. You saw her frustrated. You saw her trying to be, a homemaker, and it wasn't working for her, right? Maybe she's just like, man, like, I'm over here recovering. I'm dealing with these kids. Like, and kind of just going crazy a little bit. And then you could kind of have that transition to where it's like, okay, I need to do something. I need to get some work. I need to report. I need to do something. Maybe she takes up a job or something, tells Sidney. And that, again, that could also explain why Sidney randomly needs a nanny. Because, again, why else would she randomly need a nanny unless there was a real reason for it? And I think the reason could be, well, hey, we have, I have to get a job. I need to get on my feet. I need to stop moping or whatever, right? Like, let me get on out of here. And then boom, there you go. Now you have an easy explanation for everything. Story that makes sense. Story that people would buy into and I think would enjoy. And I think that would be an easy outlet. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you like the idea? Do you think, like, yeah, I mean, makes sense? Sidney or Gale calls Sidney, hey, I need to recover. Or maybe even Sidney reaches out to her, like, hey, Gale, like, what's your plan? What are you doing? Right? Maybe she's visiting. Maybe that's how the movie starts. Maybe we see Sidney visiting Gale and they come back together. Right? Like, that could be a real possibility. And it could also tie into one of the rumors about location that is going around, which I want to make a full video on. So stay tuned for that video. I kind of leave you guys on a little cliffhanger here a little bit to kind of add a little fun. But again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are. Do you like the little theory I laid out? Do you not? Do you think it should go another way? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are. I would love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.